Hi doll friends, I'm Mary Senko with my good friend Denise Buese, and we're going to do today for our program an unboxing from long ago.
Exciting.
It's going to be exciting. We're really thrilled to be here. I have to tell you, just to kind of set the stage a little bit for this piece, Denise, I was walking through one of my World Doll Day shows and just doing the thing that I do.
Right.
Visiting with the dealers, just making sure everything was going good. And I stopped short when I saw this on a table. And from there,
Just jumped out at you.
just
didn't it?
jumped
Yes.
out at me. It was one of those moments. From there, I just was
surprised.
captivated, thunderstruck. So I think you're going to be thunderstruck when we see what was inside this box.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
So our little box is actually a wonderful cigar box from Cuba. And as you see the front of it, it says, set this up with care, save it with care, to unbox on Christmas Day. And on the side of it, we see that this must have been a Cuban cigar box.
Right.
What do you
Let's
think?
see. Colorado something over here. Well,
On the inside of
you
the
said
lid,
there's something
let's
else.
take a look at this. And this is definitely the beginning of kind of unraveling a little bit of a mystery too about this doll. That it looks like, definitely looks like writing 19th century, you know, the mid 1800s century logo and brand and all the detail. As we look at the detail on the inside of the box and we look at the writing, it's pretty cool. And of course, Habana, now we say Havana,
right.
Cuba, but right there is a big giveaway. We're gonna set this lid down, and I love the fact that there's still artifact paper on there, which was tissue, and then a brown wrapping paper that was glued to make sure that the box was secure and
sure.
tight, right? Don't you
Sure,
think?
sure.
To keep the cigars
Fresh.
fresh and intact. Yeah, this was going to be going on a ship. This was to be kept safe on a ship. So it was sailing back to somewhere.
To somewhere, yeah.
Yep.
Anywhere.
So, anywhere.
Gosh.
And we're going to set this down. Let's see. So we go like this so you can see. So our doll friends can see. We're going to lift the tissue out. And inside, what do we find?
Very beautiful but unusual doll. Look at that. She is gorgeous. What is she made of, Mary? What is that?
Well, when I looked at her initially, I thought initially she was made of leather. And we can see that there's some early cotton print here, but then, and lovely cotton here, eyelet here, but then some beautifully dyed silk,
Look at that.
beautifully dyed silk all the way down. And then underneath, we're gonna see some wonderful cotton petticoats. And help me out a little bit there.
Okay.
And then let's take a little further look here. And we see some wonderfully decorated little boots or shoes, slippers, little slippers.
The condition is amazing.
I know. And then, of course, the detail on the petticoat is incredible. Look at how it's so tightly tucked.
Tiny.
And tiny hand stitching. All tiny hand stitching to pull it together. I just love that.
Looks like real mid 19th century work.
I think so. I really do think so.
See her legs there, and the stitching.
Yep. And then we discover that her legs are all leather. She's got, we're gonna lift it up again.
Okay,
Together.
here we go.
Here we go.
Whoops, one more layer.
Trying to be careful about touching things like this.
Right.
Her legs are leather and her body is all leather, made of leather. And when we look at some of the details, we can see her hands are leather stitched with individually
Oh,
stitched
look
fingers,
at that. Yeah.
which are
love it.
fantastic.
Little thumb.
Little thumb, individually stitched fingers, all the way up leather. And what do you think about her face, Denise? What do you think?
Well, look how it's molded, right?
Right.
There's a little nose, a little chin.
And she has
And
white
it
leather
looks-
for the eyes, and then a black leather dot almost in the shape of a triangle for her iris.
And it, you see stitching over on the side?
Stitching on the side here of the head.
I don't know if we see it on this side.
No, it's kind
No,
of
can't
covered over
really see
there.
that, yeah.
But these are obviously rag curls
Look at that.
that she would have taken a lot of time to put up on her head. And I think it's interesting that this is almost representative of some of the Afro-Cuban culture of the period, where she was actually probably a lady of
Oh, yeah,
status, would
very
you
high
think?
status. Look at the way
You know,
she's
she's
dressed, her
dressed.
jewelry.
Her jewelry,
You can tell she has a cross, so
of
that
course.
maybe some of the religion in the culture.
And then purple was invented in the color purple was invented in the mid 1800s. And the green was invented in 1772
Oh, that early.
as a
Okay.
chemistry mistake.
Isn't that the way things are invented, right?
That's right. They found out
Mistake.
through a chemistry mistake that the green, actually, they were trying to create medicine, and they found out that they developed arsenic
It's amazing.
and dyed
And it
the
was
fabric,
green.
and it was green. That's right.
Wow.
Pretty interesting. But someone of status, and as I dug a little further into the box, I'm going to carefully lift this, and how about you help me and pull that piece of paper out
Oh,
that was down
Okay,
underneath there. What did we find? A little piece of history that the doll was given, a doll given in Martinique to Miss Austen by her father when she was 3 years old in 1865. And Miss Austen was born in 1862. And don't you think that something like this, I mean, it's unraveling a mystery. Do you think that it could have been a British naval captain that found the doll on the island as he was on the island getting some supplies or food and
or protecting.
protecting the island, but then
Islands from-
stopping on the island to maybe get some food or
Absolutely.
something like that?
Sure.
And he could have seen this, a cottage, this is very likely a cottage industry type of a doll, that it's because it's so one of a kind. It wasn't
Right.
produced, many produced. And he could have seen it and wrapped it up, put it in the cigar box, and took it back.
A sturdy box, taking
A sturdy
it back.
box to
Sure,
protect
to his
it.
daughter.
Yeah, to be unwrapped at Christmas.
Yes. Isn't that special?
Isn't
And
that
as a
wonderful?
cottage industry, of course, they wouldn't, maybe they've made a few more, but they could have dressed them differently too.
Yeah.
To represent all walks of life.
I think so.
But
That's the thought.
she is definite. Look at all her jewelry, the jewels on her.
The jewels on her
Wrap, head
turban,
wrap,
her head wrap.
And I think the colors too.
The colors are very special. Purple became a color of royalty. So the fact that she's dressed in purple and dressed in green, which was actually a rare color to use in anything, really signifies that she was meant to be a lady of status.
Just amazing.
We had a little epiphany, didn't we,
Yes,
Denise?
as we were looking at her a little more closely in the light, because we've got really
Right.
great bright light here.
And we stopped and we took a breath and really analyzed her a little closer. And this is what we came up with.
It's a thought. It's
a thought.
an idea. It's a
That when you
propose it.
look at this Grodd and you set her next to this doll, do you see some similarities?
Yes. Look at that nose. Look at the chin. Maybe the shape. Look at the shape of her
Shape
head.
of
The
her
shape
head.
of that head.
So do you think it could be conceivable that they had a very simple grod without detail of curl?
Sure.
That they would wet the leather, because her leather, as we pointed out, has that stitching.
Right. So it
down
looks
the
like
side.
maybe a mask.
Maybe a
Could be
mask.
that part.
And that it's stitched down the side, and so it could be a mask all the way around stitched. And we started thinking that possibly they wet the leather down and stretched it over this head and let it dry to form it and make that form.
It makes sense. Otherwise, they would have to carve something, and which I suppose is feasible. They could have, out of what, I'm not sure, but they could have carved something to use as a form. But these were they're so dear to us, but they were inexpensive dolls at the time.
Right.
And it could have been an old one. And they could have used it over and over to start making this doll. And leather was very dear too. I mean, it was what, cowhide was $1. I mean, which was a lot.
A lot of
A
money
lot.
for
So
a
this,
cowhide.
and this is a good way to use pieces. And the body is also leather, and it's, so they could have used a piece like this that maybe wasn't good enough to use for some other means, or
Right, something
maybe
else.
had a flaw, or maybe just wasn't.
Right, and if you're dressing the leather with clothes and it had flaws, it wouldn't
It
matter.
wouldn't matter.
And it would make it go much faster, so that if the person was doing this in a cottage industry, they could make a few more.
Sure.
And be able to sell them, especially to the Navy or tourists or people that were coming through. Or Havana was a stop point as you went around
Absolutely.
South America to go to the other side. It could have been that, or it was on the trading routes where the British Navy were protecting from the pirates. So it could easily have been something that the women were making to sell to sailors and to captains or naval officers to take back
And it
home.
would have been such a different item, a different type of doll than what children would have in England or France or wherever they were.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the eyes were cut out, and as you point out, they're little triangular irises, or which could have come from the little corner.
So you
right?
cut this, cut it in half, and all of a sudden now you
Now
can
you've
lay
got
it
it,
across
yeah.
the white
You can
leather, and it makes for a really nice looking eye.
So the white part is also leather,
That's leather.
and how is it white? Do you think?
I bleached in the sun.
Okay,
Bleached in the
it's
sun,
just
do
a
you
question.
I think it could very well have been bleached in the sun. Havana
Or they
would have
certainly
been.
whitewashed their other things. Did they whitewash?
They
I mean,
could
the
have
Tower of
whitewashed.
London was whitewashed.
I know. Let's face it, whitewash was a milk-based product, though, so they would have had a cow to produce milk. I don't know if they would have whitewashed irises. I think they would have more likely taken a piece of leather and maybe used some citrus fruit that they had growing on the
Interesting,
island.
okay.
And then use the
Okay.
citrus in the hot sun to get this bright white, which is something they would have done to whiten the whites and that sort of thing, right? They would have used lemon to make the whites brighter and
Their clothing, yeah.
the clothing. So,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
pretty cool.
It is very cool. I mean, she's every time you look at her, you see something different. You see something else.
Something a little unusual. So this Christmas, we get to share the unboxing of this wonderful doll with you, our doll friends, that we found at a World Doll Day show.
That's right.
Pretty
That's
fun.
right. It's pretty fun. It's pretty special.
It's special.
It really is.
It makes going
good
to a-
eye, Mary. Good eye.
It makes
Yes,
going to
good
a
eye.
show special, and we're thrilled to share this with you today.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.